So the court agreed that the Senate has the right to discipline any of their member. All right. But where the court has, divergent views is that the length of the suspension was enormous, was excessive, was, beyond what it should be, because as a senator, they have 181 days total sitting, period for a whole calendar year. And if you are suspending the senator for 6 months, that has eaten so deep into, the number of, periods you're supposed to represent her constituency, and that will deprive her constituency, adequate representation at the Senate. So based on that, the court did not specifically order the Senate to reinstate the senator or recall the senator or lift the suspension. Rather, the court was of the opinion that the Senate should reconsider, that length of time that her suspension supposed to last, which is 6 months, and then be able to, do justice to that. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is Andy Media TV. You may recall that there has been a history, between Senator Natasha N5M and Senator Akpabio, who happens to be the Nigerian Senate President. And this issue has been, ongoing, and based on the drama that, took place in the Red Chamber, in the Senate Chamber, on the day the new seat was allocated to Senator Natasha N5M, which she refused to sit on, and rather decided to request the floor to speak from her previous seat. And this, the Senate President turned her request down, and she was not allowed to speak on the floor of the Senate because she was not sitting in her allocated seat. And based on this, reaction from the Senate President, she flared up and, began to read Order 10 of the Senate rules, which gives, senators privilege to speak in time of distress. So, but the Senate President, ordered the Sergeant at Arms to take her out of the chambers. And since then, the issue has dovetailed into, different dimensions. So, but today, there was a judgment, that was delivered by the Federal High Court in respect to the case Natasha N5M filed to the court as regards to the allocation of seats to her without her consent and without being carried along. And the court has looked at the case, and today they delivered a judgment. So I think I'm going to take, the contents of the judgment in terms of there are different, variations of the judgment. So we look at each of them, one after another. So, however, before we go into that, if you are new to my channel, kindly, like and share this video, and then subscribe to my channel and put on the notification bell so that when my next new video drops, you'll be among those to be notified. All right. So since the judgment came out, there have been, different kind of interpretations in respect to what the decisions of the court were today. And I have taken my time to look at different, views, opinions, how different, senior advocate of Nigeria have spoken, different news reports, and even those who were, present in court. So that we are kind of confusing, part of that judgment where, one side will say this is what the court said, another side will say this is not what the court said, but this is what the court said. So, but I will take you through that, and then I'm gonna play, this video for you so you can be able to listen, to what transpired in the court, and then we'll come back, to conclude on the issues. So let's watch this video, and when we come back, I'll be able to, provide some little clarity based on what I have listened to different, people, different senior advocate of Nigeria, and different interpretation of this, and we can be able to come to a conclusion. So let's watch this video, and we'll be right back. Please don't go away.
We begin in Abuja, where Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court has ordered the Senate to recall the suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha N5M. Delivering judgment, Justice Nyako described as excessive the 6-month suspension that was imposed on the lawmaker by the Senate. The judge faulted the provision in Chapter 8 of the Senate Standing Rules, as well as Section 14 of the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act, adding that both the legislation failed to specify the maximum period that a serving lawmaker could be suspended from office. In another ruling, the court imposed a 5 million naira fine on Senator N5M for violating his order, which barred the parties from making public statements about the subject matter of the court.
The plaintiff is ordered to pay a fine of 5 million naira, to issue an apology to the court, and to have a said apology also published on the same medium within which the publication that offended the court was done.
The Senate, as an institution, has the right to discipline its members, and though members are elected to represent constituencies, they have to behave themselves in line with the Senate Standing Rules. And the court only gave an opinion, an obiter dictum, what we call an obiter dictum, that the Senate should consider recalling her back. Although the reliefs are not stated, there's no question asking for suspension to be lifted. because it occurred prior to the suspension. So it was more or less an obiter that she was of the view, my lord was of the view, that the suspension was excessive. So we will consult with our client.
The Senate has done something that is illegal. The Senate has done something that is against the law and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. What the judge needed to do is to say that they have done the wrong thing and tell her to resume office so that she will go there and resume, not put her again at the mercy of the people who have been unjust against her. We take these things lightly in this country. We think it doesn't matter. I think the judiciary should sit down and look at itself and ask itself, why has it become the willing tool, the willing oppressive tool of corrupt politicians?
All right, welcome back. So, when you listen to the council that is representing the Senate president and maybe at large the Senate, you hear what they said. When this matter was in court, the court, gave an order that the parties involved, that Senator Natasha Akpabio and Senator Akpabio, should not speak on the matter in any television station or social media platform. So, after having said that by the court, Senator Natasha Akpabio, published a satirical apology on her Facebook page, which, according to the court, violates the order of the court that no party should be able to speak on this matter in any kind of media platform, whether social or conventional media platform. So based on that, the court found her guilty for contempt of court for violating the court order. And based on that decision, she was fined the sum of 5 million naira. And again, that she is to tender apology to the court because she disobeyed the court, and also publish that apology in 2 national dailies and also on her Facebook page where she's posted the satirical apology. So that is in respect to the violation of court order in terms of contempt of court. That was the decision reached on that. Then the most confusing part now is that when it comes to her suspension, so the court agreed that the Senate has the right to discipline any of their member. All right, but where the court has divergent views is that the length of the suspension was enormous, was excessive, was beyond what it should be, because as a senator they have 181 days total sitting period for a whole calendar year, and if you are suspending the senator for 6 months, that has eaten so deep into the number of periods she's supposed to represent her constituency, and that will deprive her constituency adequate representation at the Senate. So based on that, the court did not specifically order the Senate to reinstate the senator or recall the senator or lift the suspension. Rather, the court was of the opinion that the Senate should reconsider that length of time that her suspension supposed to last, which is 6 months, and then be able to do justice to that. But there have been precedents in terms of the decisions of the court when it comes to suspension of a senator or member of a House National Assembly. In the case of Aline Dume, in the case of Abdulmumid Jubri from the House of Reps, and the whole of even Dino Melaya, when they were suspended, the court ruled that the maximum time that you can suspend the senator from the legislative house is 14 days. This is because the senator needs to represent his or her people. So for the period of 6 months, it's excessive. So this, to me, I think is like moral suasion. They are trying to present it to the Senate to look at their own views in terms of the suspension period, for them to kind of review it, maybe recall her back or leave the suspension, having served for almost 3 months, as the case may be. So that is where the confusion came. When you listen to different people interpreting what the court have said, and when I listen to the counsel, the Senate president, he also said it, that is the opinion of the court. It's not necessarily an order of the court. So it didn't come as part of the decision. It comes as part of opinion. The court is sharing the opinion in another part of that suspension, that the duration is too long and can affect her constituency. So, but in terms of is she supposed to be suspended, the court agreed, yes, that if the Senate felt that according to their rules that she will be suspended, that's okay, but the duration is not okay with the court. However, the court did not expressly direct the Senate chamber to be able to recall the senator. So I think that's where the bone of contention was. When you listen to the reports coming from the TV media and some people that have been interpreting what the court has said. So I think that's where the issue lies. And I think, having listened to different people that interpreted the judgment, I've come to a conclusion that will be the opinion of the court, not necessarily an express order from the court, which means the National Assembly is not obliged, to follow that. It's left for them to decide what they want to do based on the opinion of the court. Are they going to follow what the court said and review it and say, okay, you have served 3 months to return back, or, But don't forget that even when the suspension came, Senator Natasha was given conditions with which she need to, meet before the suspension can be lifted. All right. So, but I think in her case, I think she did not kind of add in her prayer that her suspension be lifted. I think so, because if there's anything like that, I think the court would have been doing it as an opinion. I think they would have ruled on that specifically. So I don't know, but because some people I've listened to were saying that I think she filed that case prior to the suspension, because you recall that when the battle for seat reassignment came, the suspension came some days or a week after, not immediately after the altercation in respect to the seat reassignment. So maybe when she filed the matter to the court, her suspension has not been done at that time. So that's why the prayer for lifting of the suspension was not among the requests that was presented to the court. So that's what I'm trying to understand in this whole issue.
First and foremost, quickly, let's understand a few things, because I have been reading reports online, claiming that the court asked Senate to recall Senator Natasha. We need to understand that when matters are in court, the court is not a Father Christmas. The court will not grant you prayers that are not requested for. As at the time this matter was originated, if you remember, as at that time, Senator Natasha had not even been suspended. Why Senator Natasha went to court was her matter was referred to the Senate Standing Rule for disciplinary action, and so she rushed to court to enforce her fundamental right, which was why the Senate also filed a preliminary objection that the court does not have jurisdiction, that the matter was preempting, and the court ruled that to protect fundamental rights, you don't have to wait for the action to take place. And so in that case, that the court had jurisdiction to hear the matter. And then the court also heard that the Senate had powers to deal with erring members, that the Senate had powers within its rules to deal with the erring members. But the only area was that the court found at Chapter 8 of the Senate Standing Rules and Section 14 of the Legislative House Powers and Privileges Act, where the court labeled it as overreaching and excessive for failure to clearly define a limit or duration of this legislative suspension. And so what that means, if you listen to Aisha Yusufu, what that means is that there is no definite pronouncement from the court. The court didn't say, that haven't been suspended for so and so period, and that it is that time is enough for the punishment, that whatever punishment that might have been meted out to her. And that consequently, we call them consequential order, that consequently, that she's hereby recalled back to the Senate. What the court just said, that the Senate should consider, recalling. I also expected that the Senate should have made, a definite pronouncement on those provisions. It's either the court is saying, you're striking out those provisions, or you're not striking out those provisions. In the absence of that, those provisions stands, and the court has ruled that the Senate has powers to discipline its members. So every other thing said would just be said in the passing, considering the fact also that originally the prayers that she requested for was not a recalling process, because as at that time she had not been suspended when she went to court, so it could not be part of the prayer that she was seeking. So that's where the whole clarification needs to come in, because a lot of people have been saying that the court didn't order the Senate to recall her. Okay. From the ruling that I have seen.
Again, the court also agreed with the Senate that, based on the Senate rule, that the Senate President is the sole person that has the authority to allocate seats to any senator. And the Senate President has used his authority very well in line with the order of the Senate, with the rule of the Senate, to allocate a seat to Senator Natasha. That Senator Natasha would have sat down on the allocated seat to her, knowing fully well that it is only the Senate President that can allocate seat. So that her turning down the seat and refusing to sit on that seat, that the Senate was right not to grant her platform to speak on the Senate floor, because the rule of the Senate says that for you to speak or to be granted audience to speak, you must be on your allocated seat. And that day, Natasha was not in her newly allocated seat. She was in another different seat to speak. And she was asked to go to her new seat, which she refused. And that's where the bubble busted, and the house became chaotic and rowdy, on that fateful day. So for me, I agree with most of the things the court have said, in terms of the part that Natasha didn't play her part very well, because from the day one, I was of the opinion that there's no big deal. Go to the news seat, sit there, then raise your hand. When you are given floor, you now have the capacity to also present your, discontentment for the news seat that was given to you. But she didn't get it, right, and that's exactly what the court also, said. So as it is, the case is a civil case, so it has nothing to do with being remanded in a correctional facility or whatever. So she has been given fine. So all she has to do is to meet the judgment of the court within 7 days that the court has specified. So within that 7 days, she is expected to pay the sum of 5 million to the court as the fine, and she's expected to publish the apology on 2 national dailies of her choice, and also submit the same apology to the court, and again publish it on her Facebook page. So that is what the court has ruled. So the issue now is what will be the next step by the Senate? We then listen to court opinion in terms of lifting her suspension and then bring her back to resume her duties so that she can be able to represent her constituency. And I've seen some of her constituency, kind of appealing to the Senate to lift her suspension so that she can represent them, that they are the ones that this whole thing is affecting. Because don't forget, when 2 elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. So the constituency, Kogi Central, they are the grass that is suffering. While the 2 gladiators, Senator Natasha and Senator, Godswill Akpabio, 2 of them that are fighting, they are not feeling the pain of the fight, but the constituency are the ones feeling the pain of the fight. So I think if I were Natasha, I think I have to, quickly attend to the court judgment, meet up what the judge has specified within the 7 days period, so that you won't be charged again for another contempt of court, and that may not be well, with you and go down well with you, as the case may be. So it's not a big deal. Issue apology, apologizing to the court. I'm putting the same apology in the newspapers and in your Facebook page. So it's not a big deal for you to do. So, but I think in terms of the suspension, so I think the Senate should be able to use wisdom, and there are precedents to this matter in terms of suspension. 6 months is too much. So the 14 days that the court has, issued in previous judgments, as regards to Melaye, as regards to Alain Dume and Jubril, of House of Reps, then I think that's a precedent that has been set. So subsequently, I think the Senate or the National Assembly as a whole should not be suspending a member beyond 14 days. I think that should be what should be in their order, in their rule book, so that next time they don't suspend people for 3 months, for 6 months, or 4 months, or whatever months. Supposed to be 14 days. So if you take off 6 months from the 180 days the legislator is supposed to, sit for the whole year, how many is remaining? So it means all through that year, our constituency was not, represented. So that's, what it is. So I think all this is kind of opening our eyes to understand that every institution, wherever you work, they have right to discipline you when you go above board. There's no organization that doesn't have internal policy or standard operating procedure. So when you violate internal policies, you will go for disciplinary action. So that's exactly what's happening to Natasha. So, and there's nothing wrong with, the Senate, disciplining her for violating the Senate rules, because it is the Senate rules that guides the senators in their conduct within the chambers. So you have to adhere to that, because the day of their swearing in, that is what they swear, apart from the Constitution, to uphold. So it's their rules. And in most cases, I think they are the people that even draft those rules. There's existing one, but every assembly, when new assemblies are coming in, they review it, update and do whatever they need to do to make it more perfect for that assembly. So it has been their book, so they own it. So if she also swear to uphold that rule and to work in conduct, to work in consonance with the rules of the Senate, so she should be able to uphold whatever is written in that book. So she knows that Senate President has right to allocate seat. She knows that you have to sit in your allocated seat. So if whatever comes out of her disobedience to that, well, I think she's gonna, face it. So, but we are still waiting to see, other cases that are still lying out there in court. The case of a sexual harassment issue is still there. There is one case filed by Akpabio's family on defamation, for the sexual harassment. This is still there. The one of the federal government has begun. There's another one on cybercrime, whatever, is still there. So quite a whole lot of cases concerning Natasha is out there in the court. So, guys, that's exactly what the situation is to me, and from what I've read and listened to the senior advocate of Nigerians who have looked into the judgment and come up with interpretation. They have already made it clear that the court did not direct the National Assembly or the Senate to reinstate, Natasha, or to recall Natasha. Rather, they provided their opinion that the length of the suspension is excessive and that the Senate should reconsider, their decision of suspending her for 6 months and be able to do the needful, So it's an opinion. It's like a recommendation. So recommendation you can apply or not apply is now your choice to decide. So it is not the choice of the Senate to decide. So I wish and I hope that the counsels to the Senate president will be able to advise him properly and tell him that, yes, what the court said is true. You guys, since she has spent some months already, you guys can, recall her back so that she can start, doing her work while the other, legal fireworks continues. So I think that should be my honest opinion if I want to advise, the Senate president. At least they have suspended her, took away her security, took away her, allowances and whatever she, gets from the Senate for. More, I think that should be up to 3 months by now, if I may remember. So there's been a whole lot of punishment, as the case may be. So I don't know, but that will be my view, though. But the Senate, we look forward to see what happens from the Senate, what comes out from the Senate in the next couple of days. All right. So from next week, we'll see if the Senate will listen to the court recommendation or court opinion in respect to her being recalled back, to the floor of the Senate. So, final word, I would say that Natasha kindly go and implement what the court judgment have said so that they don't hold you again for another contempt of court. So that would be my advice to her. And then play safe and minimize, what you say on social media so that they don't continue to, see the angles where they will be able to pinch you down. Because it's because after that post was presented to the court, and that is what led to all this fine and, and the apology they were asking you, to do. So that's what it is. So guys, I know you have your own views, you have your opinion. Please kindly go to my comment section and drop down your comment as in respect to the judgment of the court. If you have other views or you have had more superior interpretation in respect of this particular issue of her recall back to the Senate, my comment section is open for you to drop in your comment. And if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to like and share this video and also subscribe to my channel and hit up the notification bell so that when my next new video drops, you'll be among those to be notified. I appreciate you, for taking your time to watch this video. I'm going to see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. I'm signing out. See you.